So welcome to room 204 at the Library of Congress National Book Festival. I'm Robin Dale. I'm the Deputy Librarian for Collections and Services at the library. And on behalf of all of us at the library, we're really thrilled you're here this year. I hope you're all ready to talk heritage, horror, fantasy, human rights, and much, much more over today's events. Many of our excellent young adult and middle grade writers are appearing on this stage today. And later today, we will switch to adult nonfiction and poetry with topics like cultural criticism, diplomacy, and nature poetry. We do hope that you'll visit us at the Library of Congress on Capitol Hill, and whether it's to research about subjects in our reading room, or visit the beautiful Jefferson Building, or attend one of our Live at the Library events, which are Thursday nights events where we keep the library open until 8 o'clock at night, and we present dynamic free programming for people to enjoy. You can also be a part of helping us produce these free events, such as this festival or Family Day, by joining the Friends of the Library. Just this week, the Friends helped bring a really exceptional group of 19 people from around the world to the Library of Congress to really discuss services for the blind and print disabled in communities in their countries. Your support extends the reach of the library and allows all people everywhere to benefit. So to consider becoming a friend and find out more, please visit loc.gov/donate. So we're going to start off the day today. I know you're all really excited. I've been seeing you having conversations and waving at our authors already. So we're going to start off today with two writers who will discuss the role that heritage plays in their fantasy worlds. I'm really honored to be able to introduce Tomi Adeyemi, and she is named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people. She is a Hugo and Nebula Award-winning Nigerian-American writer and storyteller. After graduating from Harvard University, she studied West African mythology, religion, and culture in Salvador, Brazil. Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone and its sequel debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Her Legacy of Orisha trilogy is being developed into a feature film. And her latest book, Children of Anguish and Anarchy, concludes the Legacy of Orisha trilogy. I'm also very honored to introduce Vanessa Lee. Vanessa graduated from Brown University with a degree in health and human biology and is a current medical school student. Her writing is an expression of her love for medicine and her Vietnamese heritage. When not writing, she was wishing she was writing, studying medicine, or spoiling her 2 Shiba Inus. Her debut novel is The Last Bloodcarver. And finally, I'm honored to introduce our moderator, Christine Bollow. And she is the co-owner and director of programs for Loyalty Bookstores, a Black, Asian, and queer-owned bookstore in Washington, D.C. So please enjoy the festival, and let's welcome them to their conversation.
Tomi, Vanessa, hi.
Hi.
Okay, before we start, how are you guys feeling? You guys doing good?
I feel excited.
Yeah?
Solid.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So my heritage is my weapon. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'm Filipino. I'm not gonna lie, the first thing I thought when I saw this, the title and the topic for today was, these are the thighs that killed Magellan. So, that was my first thought. What were you thinking about when you first heard this topic? Like, how do you think of your heritage being your weapon, whether it's you as an author or perhaps the characters from the books?
Personally, I wrote this book because I was feeling lost from my heritage. So to be able to make that journey back to it through writing the book and then having it in this panel be considered my weapon has been incredibly affirming for me because I'm Vietnamese American. I grew up in a very white city, Portland, Oregon, in what I would consider a cultural island. So to feel that sense of like, I don't really have a heritage, to be able to write about that in my own very personal way, and then to use that to, quite frankly, enter the publishing world this year has been, super reaffirming, and just, I think it is a privilege that a lot of authors like us didn't have 5-10 years ago, to be able to write about our heritage and have it be a weapon. So that in and of itself has been incredibly empowering.
I love that. Sometimes I forget I'm on stage. So I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's a funny title, I think, or it's not a funny title, it's a powerful title. I think for me it makes me laugh because if you had asked me that a couple of years ago when like Children of Blood and Bone first came out, I feel like my answer would have been similar. I'm Nigerian American. I was the first one in my family born here. And when I'm trying to describe the first gen experience to people who aren't first gen, I'm like, well, wherever your parents came from, that's what it's like inside your house. And then whatever you look like, that's what it's like outside your house. So I was like, inside my house, I was Nigerian. Outside of my house, I was black.
Yeah.
And when I was writing Children of Blood and Bone, when I discovered the Orisha in Bahia, Brazil, it was like, I describe it as like flying halfway around the world to discover treasure in my own backyard. Like, it's, ooh, yeah, do we have, okay. Okay.
Yes.
It was so empowering, and it was just like a journey of climbing up my ancestral like DNA and story and blood and lineage. And I now that the trilogy is complete, it's like I don't just see that in the story. It's like, I know we mentioned the movies, it's like seeing a 3D rendering of the world and seeing like my late grandfather's name or like my late uncle's name. It's so powerful, but now it's not just in the story, it's like in my life. It's in my daily life. So it's like someone like cuts you off and you're like, I'm gonna send my grandmother to fight your grandmother on the other side. And you're like, don't do that.
Right.
Let's be peaceful. Have a great day, Grandma. But like, I think that way. So that's why I was laughing, because it doesn't just feel, after living it with it for so many years, exploring it in a fictional setting, now it feels more a part of me and a part of just the daily act of being alive. And it's a very enriching and refreshing human experience.
I love that. Thank you. There's this line in The Last Bloodcarver where, I'm going to just paraphrase, but, surely he didn't see heart soothing the same way she did. How could he understand that it was her connection to her lost family, a culture she'd never had the privilege of knowing? And that really hit me, And I know for myself, reading books is a lot of how I connect to my own heritage, my own culture. Is there something when you were writing the book that really stood out to you, of like, where you just kind of like dropped in and felt that connection to your ancestors, to your family, or something in the book that really hits you in that moment?
So a little bit of context, and I don't mean to get all serious, but basically I wrote this story because during the pandemic, my grandmother she had dementia, and then she, basically my family here in the United States is my grandmother's generation, and then my mom and my dad. So a lot of my connection to Vietnam was just through my grandmother. She, spoke the language. She was the one that taught me the language. But then as she had dementia, a lot of those connections, well, she was forgetting them, so I was losing them as well. So when I wrote this book, it was just a lot about the frustration and grief of not being connected in a way that I, used to be or wanted to be to my culture, and having to lose that really strong thing that, bonded me, as well as losing a person, because this story is about grief, and it's about long grief. I think a lot of people call dementia the longest goodbye. To circle back to your question, a moment that I really dropped in was a moment, not to spoil the book for those who haven't read it, but a moment where she is able to finally understand why her grandmother taught her, the magic system, which is called heart soothing, the way that her grandmother taught her. And the magic is very much an analogy for culture in my book. It's passed down from generation to generation, and it's not quite seen as, to her, it's healing. To everyone else in the world, it's harming. So for her to be able to reconnect with her magic system was very much just me writing in myself, reconnecting with my culture. And I'll be very honest, the moment this book came to me was when I was watching a Disney trailer for Raya and the Last Dragon. And it was the first Southeast Asian, not even specifically Vietnamese, it was like a conglomerate of things. But it was the first Southeast Asian Disney princess. And then I remember watching that trailer, and I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like my mom. So I was like, that's so crazy that that's a thing now. So I wrote that moment of realization into my book where I was like, oh, I'm seeing myself for the first time in a place I have never seen myself before. So that translated over, hopefully, to the novel.
I just going into, both of you have such fabulous characters, like, just, the kind of characters that are going to stay with you long after reading them. For both of you, was it character first? Was it story first? What was that first kernel of inspiration?
Yeah, for me it was the world first. It's a very, I guess everything in my head that's synonymous with childhood is Disney Channel. So it was a very Disney Channel-like moment of being in Salvador, Brazil. This was the summer after I graduated from college, and I had gotten a travel grant to go to a place. I wrote the proposal. I was like, okay, I want to visit the Museum of Afro-Brazilian History of Slavery in Bahia, Brazil. And this was a big deal for me because I didn't even leave my room to go outside. I ordered Domino's, I watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, the anime. I was like, I don't go outside. But I was like, I want to go to Brazil. And mostly I just wanted to go to Brazil, but I was like, the research reason I want to go, the reason I want you to give me money to go is because Brazil it's almost the most interesting parallel to the United States, because during the Middle Passage, they brought over about 10 times as many slaves as the United States. And so I just saw these very interesting parallels between African American identity and what was then the emerging Afro-Brazilian identity, and also very similar problems with institutionalized racism, police brutality. It was very, very similar colorism, but they were different because the way the Black identity was treated or categorized was different. So in my head, I was like, there's a story to be told. There's these two sisters separated by the slave trade. One ends up in America, one ends up in Brazil. Through generations, their daughters rise and become the queens. And this was in my head, and I was like, I can do this, and I knew I couldn't do it, but I was like, I can write a proposal to do it. And I got it, so I got to go to Brazil. I'm going to this museum. It's the crux of my entire proposal. It's closed for renovations. And like distinctly remember like me talking to the guard. I don't speak Portuguese. He doesn't speak English. But I was like, I can't give this money back. I already had corn on the beach. And I was like, I won't touch anything. But like I signed a contract. And he's like, no. So I don't know if it was the same day or like 2 days later, but I'm in Bahia, Brazil. I'm kind of freaking out because I don't know what to do. It's raining really hard, which is so interesting. I've told this story a couple times, but I was just like, oh, rain, oh yeah, it all connects. But it was raining really hard. I didn't have like locks at the time, so I couldn't get my hair wet. So I duck into this gift shop. It's like the size of this stage. And the gift shop owner is kicking out people who are there to avoid the rain. So I'm like, oh, like really just really taking my time. And then I see these 4 ceramic plates, and I didn't know what I was looking at. But there was this like beautiful goddess like commanding the sea. She had like dark skin though. She had skin like mine. It's actually very similar to when you're describing Raya and you're like, whoa, she looks like me. I was like, she was commanding the seas. It was watercolor, so there was no face, but I was like, her skin's like mine and she's so divine. I think Oshun was there, this beautiful just figure and all this yellow and swirls. There was like Okosi, he had like the arrow in green. There was Shango, he was like big, powerful, dark skin, red. And in my head, I was like, this is African, the Last Airbender. Like, and you're like, why does it all come back to that? Because all my childhood was just like, make out with her. Right. And who? Obviously, Zutara, but still. Thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to be seen. It's nice to be among my people. So that was just all my childhood, and I saw that, and I never even considered that there could be like Black gods and goddesses or African gods and goddesses. So it really was this like big bang in my head, and it just, and I saw the world of Orisha, and I saw like the giant lions, and I saw the battle, and I saw the magic. It took me like 8 months before I discovered who the characters were in the world, but it came to me instantly. It was like a whole theme park, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen here, but it's ripe for adventure. And like I'm still living in the ripple of that moment. It's gone beyond from like seeing the first map on the first 2 books to like the map in the 3rd book to like, again, I know I keep coming back to it, but like seeing a drone digital rendering to seeing like production artists create and then being like, oh, this is not, and I was like, I want that right now. So it's insane to me because it is the Big Bang. I'm like, this universe keeps expanding from this one faded moment in a gift shop in Brazil when I was trying not to get my hair wet.
Right.
Like, that's wild. So yeah, that was Disney Channel moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of you both. Vanessa, I know Raya was like that moment where you it sparked things, but for you, was it character first, world first, story?
So actually, Raya came out when I was in college, and I had stopped writing in college because I was like, oh, I gotta study pre-med. I gotta focus, I gotta lock in. But then the trailer came out, and then the pandemic happened, and suddenly I had a lot of free time. But when I started getting back into writing, let me backtrack. When I wrote in high school, I would write, European fantasies and a lot of mythological retellings of like Greek myths, because Percy Jackson and all the fantasies that I read back then were very European. And then in college, freshman year, before I decided that I wasn't going to write anymore, I took a fiction workshop. And my professor gave me the one piece of advice that I follow to this day. He took me aside and he was like, all your pieces that have a woman as the main character rather than a man, like resonated with me a lot more. And I think it's because you write better when you write close to home. And keep in mind, these were still like white women, because I didn't know like I could write an Asian woman. I didn't know that was allowed. But then I watched Raya, And, you know, I love the movie. I think it was great, but I was like, I can make this more specific to me, and I think I can do it better. So then I started writing, you know, Vietnamese high fantasy. But then I was like, you know, this is not me either. I'm not Vietnamese. I'm not from Vietnam. I'm from America. I'm Vietnamese American. So I think with each book that I wrote thereafter, it got a little bit closer and closer to who I am. And the Last Bloodcarver, the main character Nhika, is a daughter of immigrants. So she is, you know, the closest thing you can get to me. And she was what came to me first, not in the sense that, you know, she was the person that she was in the novel now, but in the sense that, oh, I need to write a daughter of immigrants. I can't keep writing about, you know, a fantasy about a country that, frankly, I've never been to. You know, I need to write about America, but I need to write about America that is, you know, very Asian America, basically. But the other thing that came to me with this novel was I was writing some other book, and I was writing some weird magic system, and I was like, I don't really know why I'm writing this magic system. I feel like I should write something that I know. And then I read The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, and both her, you know, long form and her short stories feature science fantasy. And I had never even heard of science fantasy before her. I was mind blown, quite frankly, because I didn't know that science and fantasy were compatible. But the way she wrote it was just so natural. And she literally went to, I think, Hawaii to study volcanoes for her orogeny. And I was like, I'm studying medicine. Why don't I just write what I know? And so the magic system came to me as the very first spark. And I was like, you know, I learned about all these things in my classes. I might as well, you know, make use of my degree and, and you know, put it somewhere. So then I wrote a character who is both a daughter of immigrants and someone who heals. And I thought, you know, that's the closest I can get to writing, you know, a self-insert who is, quite frankly, a lot bolder and a lot more clever than I am. But that's what spawned the book.
That's the best thing I've ever. I'm gonna put this pre-med degree to my use, and I guess love that.
And the magic system is so cool. Like your background and what you study, it really grounds the magic in the world and in the story. Okay, so we've got a duology, first book in a duology. We just finished a trilogy. How do you guys keep track of everything? Do you have a murder board? Do you have a binder? Like what? Like how? Because my brain is like in awe.
I'm just sitting here so curious, and I'll just say it started in the very beginning because it's like you guys were so supportive when I think Robin was doing our introductions, and then no one clapped after pre-med, and I was like, wait, that's crazy. And so it just kept going, and so I've been fascinated ever since. So it's like I really want to know how you keep this straight. I use Post-it notes, colored Post-it notes. I do have a murder wall.
Amazing.
Everywhere I have ever lived, everywhere I've ever lived over the past decade has a wall that is covered in different Post-it notes, and it looks like that like meme of, I think, Charlie Sheen from It's Always Sunny, and he's like, and I know it's crazy. I'm used to it because it's just like me taking all of the categorizing the tornado in my mind and giving it order. So it makes sense to me. But it'll, like, whenever a stranger or like anyone has come into where I live and they usually swear. And then I go, oh, am I a genius? You know, because you're like, am I a mad genius? Thank you. And then someone will be like, and I'll be like, wait, no, don't look at that Post-it note because then you'll understand everything. And they're like, this makes no sense to me.
Right.
So that's how I keep it all. And there should be something better, but I don't know what to do now because it's like I move places. And like now there's a new book that's on the wall, and I was like, I don't want to take, oh yeah.
Hey. Very exciting.
So yes, I don't know what to do. I was like, do I take the wall with me? I want a museum of all the
Yeah.
walls, but I'll figure it out.
Okay. Like, what? Okay. We'll talk more.
We'll
about it
talk
later.
more.
Vanessa, how about for you?
Kind of similar, but all my stuff is online. So thankfully, I don't have to move anything when I move. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to endorse anything, but I mean, the program. I mean, it starts with N, sounds like ocean, and it's like, I think if that company went down, I would lose my entire career. Like, everything is on there. I should back it up, but I don't. But I think the only way I can ever keep track of anything is my publishing team. Like, shout out to my publicist. She will email me. She's so on top of things. I will, I like forget about things a lot. And then she'll be like, just putting this at the top of your inbox. I was like, thank you so much. That totally slipped my mind. But I think having that kind of, support system, I'm sure you have a good team as well, is the only way that I get, anything done.
I love that. Okay, just changing gears a little bit. Both of you have amazing book covers and amazing maps. I am like a glutton for maps and books, and I love both of yours. Did you get to like talk with the illustrator about the maps? How, what was it? Yeah, what was it, the experience like as an author with the map making?
Yeah, go ahead. I actually used a map making. It was a free one because we're. I'm like, we're not gonna do that. Anyway, I was like, I want to buy pizza. I want to buy shoes. I'm not gonna do this one. Anyway, since we're focused, I used a map making software online because I actually needed the map to visualize. I'm a very, very visual creator. I'm inspired. I mean, I told the thing, I was inspired by 4 ceramic plates. So it's like, I'm inspired by visuals. The visuals help me see the world. And for me to keep it grounded, I need it to be real. So I actually made the map for myself. And then that carried through for the entire trilogy of me being like, oh, well, this is what it looks like. And whether that was like a really detailed digital map or something, like I literally drew 4 times and being like, I can't draw, but I believe in myself. And then you hand it to the team and the artist, and then like one day you're looking at it, you open this book cover and you're like, whoa, because you're like, I literally just drew that, and now it's beautiful and in hardback, and yeah, so it's a very, seeing the lifeline, I think, of the map making process is always one of those most like wow moments for me.
Yeah.
Because it is insane to open up something that you're like, this was just on like the 4 pieces of printer paper I stole because I'm scared to own a printer because I'm scared to run out of ink and paper. And like, so it's just, and now it's real. That's very wild for me always.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Tomi, you have a future in stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Being a best-selling author doesn't work out for you.
I will take every diversified income stream made available to me. Thank you.
But back to the map question. When I wrote the Last Bloodcarver, I like sketched out a map, and it was like very. Well, I didn't even sketch it out. I had it in my head. And then when they came back to me, so the way my map process worked is that after the cover, after a lot of things, they got me an artist. I loved my artist, Kara Sloak. And then she was like, can I have, a sketch? And so I was like, oh, sure, I'll just sketch what's in my head. And I sketched it out. And I realized, like, nothing works in my book. Like, nothing works.
Like, how did they get from here to here?
I was like, you can't come this way without going around the whole city. But then anyway, I had to change details in my story afterwards. But, I just told her, I was like, you know what? Prettiness trumps accuracy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just make it look good, and I'll fix I'll fix the story. You do your art, and I'll write around it. So because I loved her artwork so much, and you know, she was just amazing. I was like, you do your vision. I'll copy that. And it turned out great. But now that I'm writing my second IP, I drew up the map first. I was like, I'm putting down every coordinate. So that's something I learned for if you're an aspiring writer who takes place in a city or even a kingdom. It's like, draw the map. Like, make sure they're transiting through the right places. But you know, you can always change it, because for me at least, the map came before copy edits and proofreading. So you know, nothing is set in stone.
Okay, I'm bisexual and I'm very thirsty. Okay, just gonna say it. We're among friends today. Both of you have very crush-worthy characters. Let's just say. Do you,
Who is making you giggle like that? No, we all know the giggle. I was like, for data, for research, I want to know who made you do that very
I was
personal.
thinking about which direction I was going to go with the question. Okay, I'm going to go this direction first, and then we'll switch back.
Okay.
Who was one of your first, or maybe like all-time, bookish crushes? And for me, I was giggling about Gilbert Blythe from Anne of Green Gables.
They're so specific. Oh, it wasn't book, that was anime.
It's okay. It can be any form of media.
Okay. We're gonna go 3 answers because
Okay, I love it. This is a thirst positive.
I wanted to say I am divinely, I was like, anointed? I was like, is that the proper use of anointed? No. Divinely appreciative of creatures and creations that stimulate intense emotion and desire.
Yeah.
What a brilliant way to say thirsty.
Yes.
So, to start from the book world, Kaz Brecker always wins.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Love cows.
Yeah, if that gets to you, Lee, I'm like, yes, may you do that thing that you
Dirty
did
hands.
on 154 because someone I need a gangster. Like that, I was like, yeah. So go Kaz. And then in growing up, it was one of the captains. He was the vice captain or the second lieutenant in Bleach. This is so specific. But he had spiky green hair. This isn't me being dirty. I'm pretty sure this is true. He actually had a 69 tattooed on his face. I did not know what it meant. I was young. That's just how I can identify him. But he was like captain. And then I think Mateus, like the big, strong arm guy, they both had fan fiction. I had Bleach fan fiction. And my character, she was with Mateus or Mateo. You know, he was silent, strong, big, magical arm of punching. He was like One Punch Man before. And then the Bleach, he was such a small character, but I was like, he had riz, as they say. And I was like, we can do a whole side arc.
I love it.
So yeah, I'll leave it there.
I
And
love
Zabuza from Naruto.
Amazing.
Yes.
Vanessa, any bookish crushes?
Yeah, I mean, if my boyfriend is watching this, no, you're like, it's just you. You're my one true love. But if I have to be honest, I grew up with Percy Jackson. So I feel like Annabeth Chase, Percy Jackson, you know, he fell into Tartarus for her. That's pretty romantic. So I gotta say it. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, thank you. Thank you for indulging me. Okay, so now switching, talking about the characters, when you are writing the characters, do you do anything like, you know, any fun background stuff, like astrology signs, or, you know, anything that kind of helps you develop the character, like maybe as an actor, you know, they work on the backstory. Anything that's helped you as an author with creating the characters and the background of them?
You should answer this first.
I mean, I think we're similar in the sense of we, like you mentioned, that like we write close to home. I write very close to home, very close. Like so close, I'm like, why aren't people? Actually, one person has finally said, what's wrong with you and what happened to you when you were a child? And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, thank you. I was like, these
Felt
are
seen.
clearly all my emotions. This is clearly just me. And she runs around hitting people with the staff and then ripping out souls and then stabbing people. You know, I was like, there's very little veiling. There's not even an attempted veiling. And so, yeah. But then they're like, come to my school. And I'm like, okay. So I really write close to home, and I take my emotions. And it was interesting. I was talking to an actor like this last week, and I realized, like, oh my goodness, I used to think I wrote to isolate myself. I used to think I wrote because the world was too much. And now, almost a decade into it, I was like, oh, I actually think you write to be known. I was like, I think you write so people know you're telling stories about what happened to you. Like, you might add some glitter with a shit battle, and like, but you're like, and I did cut off her head, metaphorically, you know? And so it's such a beautiful experience on the other side, because it's like, if you connected with any of my characters, you've connected with the deepest part of my emotions and my journey as a human. And it's funny, it's like I went from full introvert to like extrovert, and now I delight in it, because it's like, you know, like you were holding my book and I was like, oh my God, it's like you're giving me a hug. And I'm like, thank you. So yeah.
Oh, that really resonates with me, because I feel like the exact same way. It's basically when, as an author, if you're writing close to home, you're taking parts of yourself, that frankly you need therapy for, and then you're just like putting it in a book and you're making money off of it instead of spending money on it. But the scary thing, as a debut author, this is my first year, what I didn't anticipate was that people would read it, I guess. And then, so I was like, oh my gosh, I put way too much of myself into this. Because every character, even minor background characters, even the villain, I think, is you have to put something of yourself in them, especially the villain. If you're putting something, true to yourself in them, you are addressing it throughout the narrative as well. So all the characters, maybe I don't give them like horological astrology signs, but I think they are very much a part of me, and that's, I hope to become an extrovert like you are, because right now I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's like a decade.
Why did I do that? But it's hopeful to hear that. Very hopeful.
No, you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
And you're a doctor.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
You're a future doctor. You're amazing.
Yes, you're crushing it. Okay, so we are going to get to audience questions in about 5 minutes. Just making sure y'all know, get those questions going, and we have 2 lines that will form at the 2 microphones. So just so you know. Okay, the very wonderful Jason Reynolds, author extraordinaire, has said before, you have to breathe art in to breathe art out. And that's something that's always stuck with me since I first heard him say that. What is some art? It can be anything. It can be reality TV. Like, this is, there's no judgment here, at least not from me. What's some art that you've been breathing in lately?
Ooh, love that. Excited.
Yes.
Okay, so I am currently binging Law and Order SVU.
Ooh, all right. Love that.
It started randomly. It started from TikTok, because someone would edit videos and they'd be like, great show, watch. And then anyway, I got to Hulu, started on the pilot episode. I'm now on season 4.
Wait, how many seasons are there?
26. It's about 22 to 25 episodes.
Wow.
And it's amazing because every great actor, like in one episode of season 4, Viola Davis is playing a defense attorney. And it's like baby Viola. And I was like, you didn't even know you would be Annalise Keating, you know? Like Phil Dunphy from Modern Family is playing like the DA of like New Jersey. It's fantastic. If you look away from the crime of it all, which is kind of easy because it's the first like 2 minutes. So you just skip the intro and you're like, bum, bum, dun, 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 dun. Then it's the office dynamics, because every case makes a character confront either a political view, a personal view, a journey. And then the trauma of what's being faced, I'm just really interested in acting right now, and I'm learning about it, and it's also making me a better writer.
Yeah.
And then especially now, like editing screenplays and and I'm being like, you know what? I know this character doesn't need to say this because they can show this, and you know what? Let's make a note. I want her to think about this, this, and this, and this, and she should really be pulling on this moment because that's when she lost her family, and that's when she lost any notion of family. So it's just really powerful acting. Because I can't watch anything that, like, I still haven't seen The Bear. Anything that people like now, I'm like 3 months late to Chapel Rowan. I kind of live in this like, oh my God, well, I got to get through 22 more seasons of Law & Order SVU.
You are busy.
Before I can even consider this. But it's so great, really good at plotting right now. Well, not good at plotting crimes because this is recorded, so I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I like the acting.
When I was in college, I babysat for the casting director of all the Law & Orders, just randomly. Very random.
But I'm like, what did she see in you to cast you as the babysitter? She's a good casting director.
She is, yeah.
So what did she see? Because you know she's casting in her real life.
I was very sweet and innocent looking, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm good with kids. I was. I don't know.
You should ask her.
I know.
You go, why?
Why?
Why me?
Vanessa, what's some art that you've been breathing in lately?
I've been studying a lot.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this is a little bit of a cheesy answer, but I think it's called the art of medicine for a reason. And I really understood that reason when I interact with patients. And I think people are art and people are stories, and you get to learn a lot about their stories when you interact with them, especially when they're coming in at their lowest moment. When I was working a lot in the oncology clinic over this summer, I was absolutely astounded, like taken away by the strength of the human spirit, and it's so enduring. Like they can be up against the greatest mountain, and they'll be like, "I'm the one that's going to climb that," and it's very inspiring. And I want to be able, on the one hand, to write those kind of stories, their stories, but on the other hand, I'm not the one that should be writing their stories. So what I take away from those encounters is not, I'm not going to take their story and put it into my story, but rather, as me as a provider, what can I get out of listening to people, understanding their backgrounds, their stories, and just not only distilling that into my writing, but trying to distill that into the practice of the art of medicine as well. So not to end on a more somber tone, but I think
that's not somber or cheesy. That's profound and beautiful.
Thank you. Tito, I think people are art, and we have a lot to learn from each other.
Thank you. So we're going to get to audience questions. If people want to line up on either end, and while y'all are lining up, I'll ask my last question, which is what are some books or maybe other forms of media, it could be anime, that you think your book is in conversation with?
Ooh. Oh, that's hard.
We can always skip it if you're like.
I was like, that's
too
really hard.
I'm thinking like my comps.
Yeah, you have I think it's like, you know, because we're also writing something different. So it's now I'm like, in the thing I'm writing, I was like, oh, your books are in such conversation with yourself. Yes, they are like, hey, I've never seen myself here, here, or here. So I am commenting a little bit on this, this, and this. But I was like, this was really like me sitting in the room with my soul and being like, scream. Just scream.
You are a work of art, right? So that
As
is,
Vanessa said.
so I think that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sounds like they're in conversation with each other as well, our books.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Thank you. Okay, so we have time for our questions.
Yay.
Okay. Would you like to go first?
Thank y'all for doing this. This has been so much fun. Y'all are lovely. Your books are fantastic. And I think one of the things that like most struck me with both of your books is like the magic systems are so interesting and detailed. What was the most fun part of building a unique magic system like that, and what was the hardest part of it?
Yeah. Go ahead. The most fun part popped into my head when you said it, and I was like, death. I was like, death. The hardest part was that in the draft that was acquired by my publisher, there was actually 15 different clans, so 15 different magic systems.
Wow.
And my editor was like, why don't we pare this down? And I'm like, okay, 10. And then by book 2, I was like, girl, everyone does 4. Why didn't you do 4? It's so clear. There's a reason they do 4. You know, it's a lot to balance 10. So I think my excitement, I'm glad that they all exist, but that was the hardest part, is just having 10 different types of magic systems and wanting to, or different types of magic within the same system and wanting to, I guess, paint them fully, but also being like, I'm focusing on Zélie and her journey, and throughout the trilogy, her magic changes with her journey and where she is and how she's connecting. And so it's a lot of expression, but then wanting to, I always call them the protractors, and I imagine the people with the protractors were like, well, in book 1 on page 56, she could do this at 36 degrees, but on page 3, on the new trilogy, and that's where I'm like, fight me. But I do think about them, and I try and honor them a little bit.
That's pretty amazing. I can only balance one magic system, but the most fun thing about it, the one thing I really like about medicine is that you are a detective, and that's why I write murder mysteries. But that was the essence of the book, is that there's an illness, and the character has to figure out how to overcome it. And there's actually multiple little illnesses throughout both book 1 and book 2. And my favorite part is just the puzzle, like coming up with an exact condition that works in real life, but also translate well to the story format, that holds like a symbolic correlation, that works narratively, that fits the time period, because it's set in, kind of the equivalent of the 1900s, and they didn't know a lot of medicine back then. But I would say the hardest part is she has to heal a brain injury, and I don't know anything about the brain. And quite frankly, I was doing research on this, and modern medicine can't exactly necessarily bring people back from comas yet either. So I was like, I unfortunately put myself in a situation that doesn't have an actual answer, but that's where science fantasy comes in. It's the fantasy part of science fantasy. So you just hand wave everything that you don't know.
Yeah. Thank you. Next question.
Hi. Ooh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm usually really loud. I just want to say, first off, I'm really excited to be here and watch you guys speak and listen to you. I just think it's a really warm environment, and you guys are awesome. I'm trying to frame my question so it's very open-ended for both of you, because I want you to really speak from your own personal experiences as creatives. So what pitfalls or challenges have you experienced, either in your creative process, writing your stories, or even sharing them with the world and seeing them come to success, seeing them interact with the world, outside of these spaces within your own minds?
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear about that.
That's such a gorgeous question. It immediately I got to go to a retreat in this past May. It had a lot of creative people, and it was dealing with honestly the pitfalls of creativity. And it was the first time someone stood in front of me and was like, creativity is a unique thing because if you're successful at it, it can kill you. And no one had ever put it that way, but we've seen that motif a lot in our lives, and even in our field of young adult fantasy. So many successful young adult fantasy authors get really sick. So many of them are hospitalized. Even I got really sick during my journey. So I think that's a pitfall. It's we sat here and I'm like, hey, I'm almost 10 years into this now. So now I know I'm actually writing to be known. I'm not writing to hide. But 10 years ago, I was right. I was like, I don't know anyone else who feels this angry, who feels this sad, who feels this heartbroken. And if I don't get this out of me, I feel like I'm gonna explode. So it's very unique doing things from the most raw and bleeding part of your heart and soul, and then sharing them with what you think is one person, and then that's oh, okay, so that's 1 million people. It's scary. There's the physical scariness of being oh, I'm gonna post literally where I am and what I'm doing. So if someone doesn't like me, but then I'm also let's go. So, a little bit Nigerian. My grandma was a Scorpio. Anyway, so it's there's a lot, and I think something that's given me a lot of peace or grace is so many of the women I admired when I started out told me hey, just get through your first series. And they told me about all the insane things that happened to them during their first series, things you would never guess. And these are these are my idols. And I honestly saw that in my own life. I was I got through the first series, and then I was oh, okay. And then you're oh, I got a nice ponytail, I smell good, and I like to write. It only took a decade and more. So it's a journey, but there's someone I really admire. One of my heroes once said, hey, Tomi, creativity is like breathing. They're she's if you're not creating, you feel like you're suffocating. So I would say what I try and teach the students that I mentor is fall in love with your process. Learn a process that is both productive but also soothing, because that process will support you through your entire career, from your I'm trying to get an agent to oh, I just wrote a bestseller, I have to write the second one, to oh, I'm writing a script on a movie, to I have a new book. I finally have a creative process that I love, and it's not only a safe space for my soul to create, but I don't feel separate from the world anymore. I don't feel like I'm hiding in my creativity and that those people can't coexist. So yeah, I say all of it because creativity is beautiful and it can be dangerous. But at least for me now, understanding it's a learning process, it would have taken so much pressure off my debut year and my first few years, because you just want to get it right. Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm paneling with you, because that's exactly, I feel, what I need to hear in this moment.
Yeah.
As someone who's just come out with my first book, and one of the hardest things for me is, whether intentionally or inadvertently, is becoming a voice piece for a lot of Vietnamese Americans, which I didn't intend to do. I wrote this very specifically to myself, and it turns out a lot of people relate. But on the one hand, it's a privilege to be able to, represent a demographic that I was very disconnected to. But on the other hand, I'll be very honest, it feels like a curse sometimes where, people see you and they're like, oh, your experience must reflect a lot of people's experiences. And I'm like, nope, it's my experience. But, it's super heartening to hear that it gets better because,
Yes.
because very much it does feel like I'm hiding from my own book when, hopefully one day I won't be hiding, from it anymore.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question?
Hi, sorry, I'm a little short. Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so enjoying everything you guys are saying. Tomi, I've read your books, and Vanessa, I'm excited to read. I haven't read yours, I haven't had the privilege to, but this question really comes, I'd love for you both to answer, from the idea of just spirituality. So much spirituality is worked into your books, both from a magic perspective, but I can also feel that, of course, from the character growth. And I'm just wondering, how has your own personal spirituality been changed in the process of it all? And specific to you, Toby, do you feel like you, from an Orisha perspective, have really grown close to one, or is there one that you still want to explore that you haven't yet? And I'm sorry, I know this is a lot, but how do you go about that process outside of the internet? How are you using resources to explore that?
I love that question. I feel I'm in the most spiritual place I've ever been, and it's twofold. And it's funny, I was hearing an Oya song in my head when you were talking, and I don't know the words exactly, so it's I don't want to sing it because it's I'll mess it up, but it's being Nigerian, we're people of strong faith, so we were raised, for me, I was raised Christian, and there's also a lot of music associated with that. It's we are saying thank you, it's we're, thank you, oh Lord, there's just so much of that, so we're raised on that. We're kind of dragged to church on Sunday. But for me, there comes a point, and it especially happened in book 3, in the process of book 3, where I really had to lean on God. I was yo, I can't do this. I'm a Leo, I got a lot of pride, you know that, I can't do this. I give up. Can we? And so now, if you haven't read the book, I feel we all know the Lord of the Rings moment where Frodo's I can't do it, and Sam's if you can't make it up this mountain, I'll carry you. I promise you, I can't tell you one thing that happens in that entire trilogy in the 18 hours of smooth. I'm what is who to what? But that one moment is everything. And I feel that through spirituality, I feel that through people in my life who, for me, are God-given, angels. But it's not just about a specific faith. I really just see the divine in so many people and circumstances and emotions. And then this entire book has been the journey with the Orisha. It's I now look at that moment in Brazil and I'm oh my gosh, Oya, you snapped me up. You snapped me up. And we went on a journey for 7 years. And so now I'm on the other side of it, and it's daily. There's the story, and then there's the gifts that stay with you after the story. It's the fact that to center myself today, I had to listen to a worship song. It's okay, I try and do that every morning because whether I wake up in my home or whether I wake up somewhere, it's oh, okay, I just want to be centered. And then the song fills me with such gratitude, and then I'm brought to tears, and I'm okay, time to do your eyeliner. So it's just glory be to God. It's a fountain, and it's on both sides. I find so much from what we would traditionally recognize as God. I find so much from Oya, from Oshun, from the rainstorms, from the wind. So it's all someone I really admire. She's I live in the realm of the miraculous, and I'm I feel I live in the realm of the divine, and I try to stay there. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Thank you. We are sadly out of time.
Oh, sorry.
I feel like this could go on for so much longer. Like, let's get our jammies and all hang out.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Vanessa, Tomi Adeyemi.